Hello and welcome to Btekt. Today I've got a very simple, straightforward side-by-side comparison for you. No flashy phone shots, well, maybe just a few. I've got two leading Android smartphones with arguably the best camera systems available right now, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus and the Huawei P30 Pro. Now, I know these two have been out for a bit and they are about to be superseded by the very latest flagships from the two companies, but I've never really compared the two properly. Okay, I did a brief comparison on the day the P30 Pro was released in Paris, but honestly, I hadn't had any of these phones for very long at the time. But now I know them inside out and the cameras have had time to receive software tweaks through updates. Well, I thought let's put them through their paces again. This time we will compare the video, the photos and the super slow motion. If you're looking for a good deal on either of these two phones, then I suggest checking out the Direct Mobile's website, where they have 24 years of award-winning customer service, which means you're in good hands, and their site allows you to compare all available deals with all of the UK networks, all in one place. The link is in the video description below, or you can search directmobiles.co.uk. So what do we have here exactly? Well, the triple camera system on the Galaxy S10 has two 12-megapixel sensors for the normal and the telephoto lens, and a 16-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera. This is versus the very impressive 40-megapixel Super Spectrum RYB sensor, which serves as the main camera on the P30 Pro. This is complemented by a 20-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera and an 8-megapixel telephoto. It has to be said, when it comes to the hardware, the Huawei is definitely better equipped. Although, having said that, the Galaxy S10 Plus does have some unique kit of its own, in the form of its switchable aperture. It can be hard to see what advantage this aperture can bring, but it does give it better performance when shooting into the sun, I've noticed. The telephoto lens on the Huawei P30 Pro, you'll notice, is square, as it is actually a prism which reflects light down and then across the device to give it a 5x optical zoom. This type of technology is extremely impressive. Consider that these photos were taken in the same spot. Unbelievable that a phone can deliver you shots like these. The S10 Plus may not have the massive optical zoom range of the P30 Pro, but it still has a very good and usable digital zoom. Here is the 10x digital zoom on the S10 compared to the P30 Pro's 10x hybrid zoom, and I think it holds up extremely well when compared to the P30 Pro. Looking at these videos side by side, and the S10 Plus does seem to have more punchy colours than the P30 Pro. It's also shooting video at 4K resolution and 60 frames per second. The P30 Pro can only manage 30 frames per second with video. You can switch lenses and even use the hybrid zoom whilst you're recording. However, the maximum zoom range of the P30 Pro is 15 times when shooting video. When taking photos, the zoom range is an incredible 50 times. However, the quality really does suffer at its maximum zoom, but it is nice that it's there. I would say that the Huawei P30 Pro is outstanding when it comes to photography, but it's not really that good when it comes to video. And I think that the Samsung, with its HDR10 Plus and beautifully stabilized 60 frames per second 4K video, definitely wins out. But the P30 Pro does have a trick up its sleeve, and that's its dual view video mode. This feature wasn't available at the time of launch of the P30 Pro, or even when I did my review a few weeks later. It didn't arrive until the third update. But now it's here. It allows you to shoot with two lenses simultaneously in 1080p, giving you an ultra wide angle view of the scene whilst allowing you to freely zoom between 5 and 15 times magnification. It's a cool little trick and it's unique to the P30 Pro. Again, when it comes to photos, the S10 Plus seems to have richer colours. The P30 Pro is delivering a more natural look. The S10 Plus does seem to push the saturation up a little bit more, but it doesn't look unnatural, and in a few of these shots, you can argue that the S10 Plus does a better job. Both phones are on their standard colour settings. If you're not happy with the colours, then you can mess around with them to suit your taste. The ultra wide angle lens on the Samsung is slightly wider than the P30 Pro, coming in at 15mm in full frame equivalent terms compared to 16mm. It doesn't sound like much, but you can notice a slight difference. On both of these devices, the ultra wide angle lens is my favourite lens to shoot with. Personally, my favourite kind of photography is landscape, so it's ideal for me. But if you prefer taking portraits, then both of these phones have you covered again with their excellent portrait modes. The P30 Pro has an advantage because of its 3D time of flight sensor. This tiny little camera sends out an infrared beam to scan its environment and then measures the differences in time it takes different parts of the beam to get back to the camera. The results are that the P30 Pro will very rarely make a mistake when it comes to isolating its subject, and does it almost perfectly every time. The S10 Plus relies on software to be able to separate its subject from the background, And although it doesn't have the fancy tech of the P30 Pro, I found that the S10 Plus very rarely gets it wrong. And although the hit rate might not be quite as high as the P30 Pro, I really can't complain about the portrait shots from this device. Finally, let's talk about the super slow motion because it's actually a no contest here. The Galaxy S10 with this memory chip built onto the imaging sensor allows it to genuinely shoot high frame rate video at up to 960 frames per second. Recording times have been vastly improved over the S9 series, and now you can either shoot for 4/10 or for 8/10 of a second, giving you up to 26 seconds of slow motion footage. So why is it a no contest? Well, the P30 Pro does not approach the task of shooting super slow motion video in the same way. Instead of using the hardware to facilitate the super slow motion, it uses software to analyze two separate frames and then warp those frames to create the missing images that would be between them. This method can actually work really well, and most of the time the P30 Pro will give you good shots. But put it side by side with a phone like the S10 Plus and it's clear to see the difference. While it may be able to approximate predictable motion, it finds it much harder to give convincing results if the motion comes from off the screen or if the motion is just too fast. Yeah, there may be advantages to using this method, which is called frame interpolation, such as you get better performance in low light when compared to the Samsung system. But I think it feels a little bit like it's cheating. And for me, for the super slow motion at least, it's a clear win for the Samsung. But the truth is, you really can't go wrong with either of these two phones. I think overall, the Huawei is way better equipped for photography. But when it comes to video, you get much better quality from the Samsung. Although it doesn't have the perks of the 5x lossless zoom and the time of flight sensor, and the low light performance is definitely better from the Huawei thanks to its super spectrum sensor. The Huawei just feels a lot more specialist than the Samsung does. I think the Samsung is a better all-rounder. If you want good videos and good photos and good slow motion, it does it all. The Huawei seems to excel with photography and with that incredible zoom range, but is let down slightly by its video and even more by its super slow motion. If you want good photos, get the P30 Pro. For video, get the Samsung. If you want a good all-rounder, then again, it's the Samsung. But anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my comparison between these two great phones. If you did, then subscribe, double tap notifications, and smash the like button. Or why not follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter? It's at Btekt, or add me on Snapchat, david.btekt. And this time, I'm going to leave you with some more samples from these two outstanding handsets. Thank you for watching. My name's David. This is Btekt.
It's Arch Bad B.